I'm Steve Solook, and today I'm going to be talking about bowing the vibraphone. I'll cover the parts of the bow, bowing technique, sound quality, and holding multiple bows in one hand, along with exercises to help develop that technique. First, we'll talk about parts of the bow. On the end you have the screw. Here's the frog. This is the stick. Here's the hair, and this is the tip. There are different types of bows, but typically for percussion, we'll use violin, cello, or bass. The differences are size, but also width of hair and diameter of the stick. Bass bows come in French or German style. French have less hair between the stick and the hair, and German have more. I prefer German. Bass bows are generally preferred for percussion because they can help an instrument or bar vibrate quicker. The material of the hair can vary, but is typically horse or some type of plastic, which is typically monofilament, which is fishing line. String players prefer horsehair. The stick is typically wood, fiberglass, or carbon fiber. Bows can vary in lengths. Shorter bows can actually be advantageous when going between naturals and accidentals, but longer bows can also have other advantages as well. Here are a couple atypical bows. The first one is a prototype for John Bergamo by Leonice Scheinemann. Notice the shape, the aluminum stick, and the monofilament. It also has no tension screw. The next one is by Incredibow, which is their percussion bow. It's about the size of a violin bow. It's short in length, it has monofilament, it also has no tension adjustment. It's designed by Third Coast Percussion and can easily fit within a stick bag. The next thing we'll talk about is rosin. Bows need rosin to help the bar vibrate. Without rosin, the bar won't vibrate as much. In essence, rosin adds more friction. It comes in various styles, and any rosin will work. Harder rosins are less sticky. Softer rosins are more sticky. I would recommend a bass or cello rosin, but something not too sticky. If the rosin is too hard, you may need to apply more rosin. Listen to the difference between a bow with less rosin and an appropriate amount of rosin. When bowing, try to be aware of the angle the hair is to the edge of the bar. When the hair is parallel to the edge, it will be able to activate the bar sooner. Because you'll be in a variety of situations, I recommend being able to bow a bar up to a 45-degree angle. Regarding bowing direction, work to be able to bow both up and down. Down is generally considered safer because of the shape of the posts. Up should not be ignored, but when bowing up, do not apply too much pressure so the bar can then lift up and become unseated. Be able to start from anywhere on the bow, whether it's by the frog, in the middle, or by the tip, because you don't know which situation you'll be provided with. When bowing the vibraphone, we're talking about the bar activation, which is also the volume and the dynamics. The bar will always have some kind of crescendo or delayed response time. We can work to minimize that through pressure and speed. Work on starting and holding all dynamics. Also work on crescendos and decrescendos over various durations. Work on decrescendos independent of the bar ringing and its natural decay. Regarding changing direction, it's important to be able to bow seamlessly, but also change direction up and down consistently as well. When I'm bowing seamlessly, I come off the bar slightly as I'm still moving up, and before I touch the bar again, I'm already moving down and gently touch the bar again. Regarding changing direction on different notes, I like to work on a C major scale. Over time, you can speed it up. Now let's talk about tone. We aim for the fundamental. When bowing, the other thing that I am always aware of is the amount of contact noise, or the white noise that happens with the hair. We can adjust this through the tension, the type of hair we're using, rosin, and pressure. Every now and then, we all get a few squeaks when we're bowing. This is happening because you're only using a few hairs on the bar. This will happen when you're running out of hair on your bow, where it will either need to be restrung or replaced, or when you're bowing on the edge of the bar. Notice how when I move up and down, the high pitch is there and is pretty consistent regardless of range. Here's a bow with less hair, and you can hear that the squeak is pretty consistent. I would not use this bow for a performance anymore. It needs to be restrung or, in this case, replaced. Now that we've gone over the basics, we can talk about holding two bows in one hand. For the first bow, we're going to be separating our hand into two parts. These 3 fingers and these 2 fingers. First, put the bow on your other 3 fingers there and wrap it around. Next, put the other bow resting on the index finger, wrap the thumb around, and this is how we hold the 2 bows. For adjusting the interval, we will push on the outside part of the frog with our thumb. And as we do so, you can see the distance becomes wider. We can also adjust the outside bow with our fingers, outside fingers, but it doesn't move as much, although it does feel more in control. I can get up to the range of an octave and a fourth in the upper octave, or a ninth in the lower octave. These bows are 3/4 in length. With small bows, we can still reach a range of a fourth or a fifth. Next, let's talk about playing individual intervals. You can choose whether you want to bow up or down, but try both directions. Start by using a second. You can see the angle on my wrist. Also notice the angle of the hair on the bar. The more parallel you are, the more extreme the angle will be on your wrist. I try and do off parallel. That way it's not as extreme angle on my wrist. If you need to adjust the volume, you can do so by adding pressure to various parts of the hand. For the outside bow, using this part of the muscle. For the inside bow, you will use the muscle below your thumb. You'll be using anywhere between here and here, depending on the interval. Once you feel comfortable with a second, attempt doing a third. Then a fourth. Next, a fifth. At this point, you'll know that the bows start to move when you're going up and down. You will need to adjust the length as you're pushing out. That way you can still maintain your location on the bar. The other thing you'll notice as soon as you start getting to larger intervals is where your hand is in relationship to the two notes being bowed. When bowing larger intervals, you may notice that the location of your wrist may affect the sound. You can choose to have your wrist in the middle between the two notes being bowed, over one note, or over the other. I've found that each of these scenarios is necessary to be able to bow different chords. When changing intervals and getting in larger intervals, you'll start to decide on how the bows have to move. To get larger intervals, the screw of the inside bow will have to go on top of the outside bow. This allows larger intervals. If we go on the inside, we are limited by where the frog is on the outside. Next, let's try changing between intervals. First, do the second, then go to a third, and back. When that feels comfortable, move to a second and a fourth. Then a second and a fifth. Notice that I'm stopping the bar in between each bow. That way I can make sure I'm still practicing how to start the sound. After this feels comfortable, then we'll try holding one note and moving the other note. The exercise now is we'll hold the tonic, and then we'll add a second, move the second up to the third, fourth, fifth, and back down again, all while still holding the tonic. When that feels comfortable, you can speed it up. Next, we'll hold the fifth and go down the fourth, third, second, and first. And again, we can speed it up. We can also play individual notes while holding two bows. To do so, we'll be playing all individual notes with the inside bow. While we do that, we'll be retracting the outside bow with our outside fingers. To add pressure with this, I'm adding pressure in this area of my hand. I've demonstrated all these things with my right hand, but I recommend doing them with both hands as much as possible. The only way to have a fluid technique with this is to be able to do this with both hands. Thank you so much for watching. I'm now going to play a short excerpt from my solo on a theme by Joseph Haydn. Thanks so much for watching the clinic so far. And before we get started with any questions, I wanted to run through a couple things that I forgot to mention. So first thing was about bow tension. Now, I actually did leave it, I did have it recorded, but it got left out of the editing screen, so I apologize about that. But what I was mentioning was, when you're not using the bow, make sure that it's not tight. If you leave it tight when you're not playing it, then it will lose tension over time. Now, the bows I did mention, the Omni bow, their percussion bow, that one is actually at a standard tension and it doesn't change, and it's meant to be that way. So in that case, it's different. And they actually guarantee that it holds its tension for quite a while. But with regular bows, always make sure you're unscrewing in between. Now, regarding tension when playing, you want to actually experiment a bit. My experience is that tighter is better, but there are actually some times when I found that loosening it may actually have some advantages. So please play around with that. It can give you a lot of different options. The next things I had to mention were about with the two bows. I actually forgot to mention about accidentals. Now, when holding the two bows, it's not actually possible to go on the other side of the vibraphone because of the angle of the wrist. But so if you want to play chromatically, you will need to have 3 bows that way if you want to use 2 in one hand. Now, the piece on a theme by Joseph Haydn, it's 2 bows in one hand and 1 in the left. You could try it a different way if that's something you're interested in. Okay, the other things were that I, while bowing down with two bows, I actually find that it creates more stress because of the angle that your wrist starts to get at. So you'll consistently see me going up, bowing up, rather than down, because I don't like the feeling of that angle in my wrist. And you may have more advantages and or different experience with it, and I hope that works out better for you than it has for myself. But that's my experience so far. And then the last thing I needed to mention is while holding the exercise do where I'm starting on the fifth and then going down to the first and back up, that is more challenging than the original when starting on the tonic and going up to fifth and down. And that has to deal with the natural design of vibraphone bars. So those were some things I just wanted to mention before we got any questions, because I thought they were suspiciously left off of the video, unfortunately. So now I see that there's a question and go from there. Did you develop this to solve a specific problem you found in some repertoire, or was it purely a creative endeavor on your own interests? It was completely creative endeavor on my own interests. The pandemic, like most people, left me with an excess of time. And at that point, I was really interested in writing for the Vibraphone and just thinking about things that I have thought about and conversations I've had with other percussionists over the years. So this was one of the techniques that I didn't publish in my first, original publication. And basically I didn't actually have this solved when that was published. This took me a little bit of time to realize how to do. I had seen conversations online with some people. I had talked to people over the years about it, and I even tried building things over the years, but ultimately nothing was really working. At some point, I just tried this, and so that's how this came to be. So it was just creative endeavor, ultimately. And then as soon as I created it, that's when I realized, well, if I'm doing this, then I need to write for it. So like most things that I've written in an etude style, I've tried to find the origin of where that idea came from. And in this case, it came from Joseph Haydn, because he was one of the first people to write for string quartet or string trio. Because the only idea for me is that this is using multiple bows at the same time, and when is the first time in written literature that happened, and that would be string trios or string quartets. But we don't actually know when those were written, who wrote the first ones. But we know Joseph Haydn was one of the first. So this chord progression actually comes from his Opus 1 of his string quartet. Do I have any recommendations for people wanting to use a mallet and bow at the same time? Morning Dove Sonnet as opposed to two bows in one hand. I don't think let me grab a bow. A mallet. I don't think I have any other advantages that anyone else has probably played before with that. This is how I hold a bow and a mallet at the same time. I've tried the other way. I don't find it to have as much control when playing with the mallet, but that's not to say I haven't done it before. So ultimately, I'm using some kind of version of a Stevens grip, basically, but nothing different than that. And I think this is a way that most people play this technique. But I may be wrong, and I'm not trying to say they do. Ultimately, that's what I've seen, and this is the way that also works for me. Well, people mentioned Morning Dove Sonnet, and actually there's some interesting things about that that are always worth talking about bending pitches and harmonics. I'll just say that I'm working on harmonics and bending pitches, and I'll have more on that soon. Well, it seems like that might be it. So if anyone has questions, you can always contact me. My Yeah, through my website, stevensolook.com. I believe my email is on there. If not, I'm hesitant to give it out on the video over right now. Write a question, write a comment, and I'll respond to you. You can also reach out through VPI as well, and I can always respond through that. So regardless, thank you very much for watching today. And again, if you have any questions, please go ahead. If you're interested in either the first excerpt, the May 14th postlude, or that last one on a theme by Joseph Haydn, they'll most likely be available in a few weeks, just through my website to start. I have a performance here in Buffalo on the Sleaze Sinfonietta concert where I'll be playing 3 of my etudes, including on a theme by Joseph Haydn. So I don't really want to publish them before that happens. Simultaneously, if you're interested in these things, let me know. I would love to hear from you. So. And also video, right? A video for On the Theme by Joseph Haydn. I will be releasing that also sometime after December 1st when this concert is over here. So regardless, thank you so much for listening. I guess the last thing to mention is that coming up, we have a fundraiser. VPI has a fundraiser. And if you have a chance to come check it out, it would be wonderful for you guys to come help support everything that the Vibraphone Project is up to. We really want to help develop how the organization can grow and ultimately the Vibraphone for the next 100 years, really. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Thank you.